I'm Samantha. I'm the Circulation Services Supervisor here at the Bourbonnais Public Library, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite genres, which is fantasy. So fantasy often gets lumped together with science fiction, and while I enjoy science fiction, fantasy really is its own genre. It's full of magic and possibility and really takes the reader on an adventure. So fantasy, though, is full of subgenres. There are epics, which are those very large tomes where it takes you across a long journey. There's steampunk, which focuses on a lot of industrial works and things like that. And then, of course, there's romance, which I also enjoy. So if you're looking to try and branch out into fantasy, you can just think about what are some of the things that you like in the current genres that you regularly read. And then you can blend those with fantasy, and I bet we'd be able to find a title for you. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in here with my first book, which is Daughter of the Forest. This book is by Juliet Marliner. That is not how you say her last name, but since I've never met her, I'm not exactly sure how you say it. This book is about a family of seven siblings and 6 sons and 1 daughter, and the family has a curse put on them. And Sorka, the sister, is tasked with ending the curse. She has to complete a task, which of course is a terrible and laborious and difficult task for her to complete. With curses, you generally have to get this done within a certain time frame, or her brothers who were cursed to be swans would have to live out the remainder of their lives as swans. But there are additional stipulations, such as she has to do all the work herself, she can't ask for help, she's not even allowed to speak. So this book follows along with Sorka's journey on this task completion to break the curse and save her brothers. I will say that this book does have a trigger warning. There is violence against women in this book in one brief space. So if that is something that you would like to avoid, then I would not recommend this book for you. The second book I'm going to talk about today is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. The main character in this book, his name is Richard, and he is just your typical average run-of-the-mill guy. Little goofy, little forgetful, you know the type. So he's got a lovely fiance, and when they go out on a special date night, they come across a girl who's been badly injured. So, of course, Richard does what he can to help her, and she leaves. But he quickly comes to realize that his life is not going to ever be the same. He's forgotten by everybody that he knows, his landlord, his fiance, and even his friends at work. So he goes on his own quest to find the girl that he helped, whose name was Dor, and discovers a London that was hiding in plain sight. While navigating through London below with Dor and her ragtag team of champions, Richard is just trying to get back to his regular life. But is that what he really wants? You'll have to read it to find out. Okay, the third book I'm going to talk about today is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this book is technically a teen fantasy, and it is a 7-book series with a prequel, so 8 altogether. And I'll be 100% honest. I don't read teen fiction in general. I don't enjoy the tropes of love triangles and how much angst is found within them. But this series definitely hooked me in. The first book was not my favorite. It was full of those tropes that I don't really enjoy in teen fiction, but I did really end up loving the series as a whole. So I read the first 2 books, kind of was like, they're all right, but books 3 through 7, 5-star reads, 100%. So I highly recommend this series, and even if you're not generally a reader of teen fantasy. All right, the final book that I'm going to talk with you about is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Naomi Novik is one of my absolute favorite authors. I've actually met her twice. I went once in Chicago to get her novel Uprooted signed, and then I went to Anderson's in Naperville to get this copy signed as well. When it came out and I heard she was coming, I definitely roped in a couple of my friends and made them come with me on that fantastic journey. So I really love Naomi Novik because she writes in such a unique voice, and she tells stories that you know really well, but with a completely new twist on them. So I've read, of course, Spinning Silver. I read her other standalone, which is Uprooted, and I am working through her Temeraire series, which is a story about dragons through the Napoleonic Wars. So that's kind of interesting. This book, it follows three main characters. They're all ladies. So Miriam is a moneylender, and she has quite the reputation about being able to collect debts and make money, basically. And she gets a little boastful with that because that's just who she is. And she draws the attention of the Steric King, which is basically like a fae people. So he challenges her to transform his silver into gold and then return it back to him. Of course, she gets a cut of it, etc. She also brings in Wanda, who is a peasant girl in the village that she grows up in. She ends up taking more and more of a role within Miriam's family, and then really becomes a friend to Miriam. And then Irina, who is another girl in their village, whose father is really just trying to climb the social ladder and marry her off to a czar. But the czar is really not what he seems. So it just kind of very quickly at the end pulls everything together. Multiple storylines get pulled into one flow, and it resolves in a very satisfactory way. So if you like retellings, because this is definitely a Rumpelstiltskin's retelling, I would highly recommend this book to you. There are also so many other authors and books that I love. For example, Mark Lawrence is great, Anthony Bryan, Sharon Shin, Samantha Shannon, and Brian Staverly is one of my favorites. Beck McMasters is one of my favorites. There's just so many great fantasy authors out there. And if you would like to maybe get some recommendations from me, you can get a curated list if you email us at library@bourbonnetlibrary.org, and I will definitely get that email and be able to send you a curated list between 5 and 10 titles that you might like. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a really fantastic day.